The Rouch Country 4-inch suspension lift kit you see here today is available for any 09 to 10 four-wheel drive F-150 owner looking to pick up a more premium, of course, all-inclusive lift kit that allows for up to 35-inch tires while making your truck more capable for some extreme off-roading. Now with the typical front strut spacers and rear lift blocks, you're also going to pick up a set of front and rear cross members, drive shaft spacer, differential sway bar and brake line relocation brackets, lifted knuckles, a skid plate, and to top it all off, you're going to pick up a set of performance rear shocks to up that suspension handling. Now the installation for this will require some cutting and drilling, and it will definitely test the toolbox and your knowledge, so I'm giving it a full 3 out of 3 wrenches on a difficulty meter. We'll talk about that toward the end of the video. So right off the bat, I want to let you know, not only are you getting your truck in the air, but you're going to improve the handling and suspension qualities as well. With the addition of the front strut spacers and the lifted knuckles, not only are you going to lift the truck, but you're going to even out the stance for the exterior appearance, getting the front up even out with the rear. Now this is going to add to the rugged and aggressive off-road appearance qualities. Now the rear blocks are going to be fabricated, making them stronger than the factory cast ones, which will prevent axle wrap. Now, axle wrap is basically common with leaf-sprung trucks that can help the pinion angle be corrected when it moves out of position. Now, in addition to the common stuff, like I mentioned, you're getting all of this extra goodness since it is all-inclusive. The sway bar relocation brackets will make sure that your sway bar stays at a proper angle to make sure that the sway bar end links are not being worn out quicker than they need to be. Same idea goes for the brake line relocation brackets, just to make sure they're at a proper angle and they're not getting stretched out. The differential drop brackets will help to correct CV angles, and finally the drive shaft spacer helps obviously to keep the drive shaft at a proper angle for a suspension-like quality that's from the factory. You'll also notice there's a set of front and rear cross members powder coated in black with a 1/4 inch thick steel plating. This with the RC name right up front looks really aggressive under the truck, but it also strengthens things up, of course. In addition to that, you're picking up the big players here, which are the Rouch Country's premier off-roading shocks, which obviously help you become more capable off-road, but keep a comfortable ride quality if you're daily driving. And that has the large 2.2 inch series diameter body with a chrome hardened piston rod and polyurethane bushings, which help to maintain NVH, or noise, vibration, and harshness cancellation qualities like the factory ones do. Now obviously you can see exactly why this is a more premium option. The all-inclusive kits make sure that all your angles and suspension geometries are corrected, which some of the entry-level and mid-level options do not do. If you find yourself doing a lot of extreme off-roading and you want the 35-inch tires and the more ground clearance to tackle a lot of those trail hazards, all-inclusive kits and more premium options are where you're going to want to go. Now with that said, they do carry a higher cost since there is a lot of high-quality materials here, a lot of plate steel of around $1,300. There's only about 3 kits available on the site right now that come with a premium option like this that are all-inclusive. Now this is going to be the most affordable, for lack of a better word, among the 3 more premium options, simply because it just comes with rear shocks and not coilovers and springs in addition to that, which some of the other ones do. So it really comes down to what exactly you're looking to achieve off-road, how capable you're looking to become, and how much you'd like to spend in the process. I do want to point out before we hop on over to the install that Rouch Country does recommend using a 9-inch wide wheel, because they say any other size wheel may require some spacers, or might cause some rubbing or some trimming may be required, but obviously that's at your own discretion. If you're using an aftermarket wheel, just make sure that they fit and watch the fitment charts that are available on the Rouch Country site as well. In addition to that, Rouch Country does cover all of this under a limited lifetime warranty, protecting it from any defects. So if you do have any problems in the future with some of the craftsmanship, obviously Rouch Country's got your back. Well, here comes time for the installation, which I am going to say again gets a full 3 out of 3 wrenches on our difficulty meter. It tests the entire toolbox and definitely requires some serious mechanical know-how. Now with that said, you want to have ratchet and socket sets on deck, all different types of sizes, extensions, things of that nature, along with a reciprocating saw for the cutting of the frame, a drill and drill bits for the cutting of the cross member mounts, a bunch of different stuff like that, just to make sure the entire box is on deck. You want to have a jack and jack stands as well, if not a lift, if you have access to one, a mallet or hammer for the knuckles, of course knocking the tie rods out of place. You want to expect to be doing this for the better part of a day, so having a helping hand on deck is definitely a bonus. If you don't feel comfortable doing it yourself, no shame handing it over to a professional to get done properly, with labor costs included, of course. First thing you want to do, of course, is get the front end of the truck in the air. Have it supported on jack stands, making sure everything is secured. Remove the front wheels, of course, and drop the brake assembly out of the way to gain access to the suspension. Remove the rotors, calipers, brake lines, ABS wires, axle nuts, everything in the way, making sure it's all clear from the suspension. At this point, you want to use a mallet or hammer to release the tie rods from the knuckles and, of course, the lower ball joints. Once that's taken care of, the sway bar end links will come next, and the lower ball joints will be removed, as well as the control arms. Drop the lower skid plate, remove the drive shaft from the front differential as well as the rear cross member. Once that's taken care of, you'll use the templates provided in the kit to do some drilling into the rear cross member mounts, and then of course do some cutting to the frame. When it comes to the cutting, everything is drilled out for you in the instruction manual. Remember to measure twice and cut once because this obviously is a very permanent job. Next up, you're going to install the differential drop brackets and raise the differential into place and bolt everything down there. Do the same for the rear cross member, installing the cross member brackets and then raising the new one from Rouch Country into place and bolting that down. Next is going to be the exact same process for the sway bar relocation brackets, and then you're going to bolt the factory sway bar into place. You're going to install the front cross member as well as the stock control arms, followed by the skid plate to both cross members. From there, install the drive shaft spacer to correct the angles there. Next up, you're going to have to remove the factory brake line brackets as well as the steel lines, put up the relocation brackets for the brake lines, and then reinstall the steel ones from the factory. Next up, you're going to have to remove the front struts, of course, and install the front strut spacers to the top and then everything back up to the front strut mounts. Once that's taken care of, you can reinstall the body of the sway bar to the sway bar end links on the control arms. You can finish things off by installing the lifted knuckles, but you'll actually have to remove the bearing and hub from the axle assembly, reinstall those onto the lifted knuckles, and then bolt everything up to the suspension. Finish things off by topping everything back on, like the brake assembly, the rotors, calipers, ABS lines, the whole nine, and then finish it off with the wheels and tires, and we're good to move on to the rear. The rears we're going to have to kick off the same way, but the install is going to be a lot simpler. You want to get the truck in the air, of course, supported on jack stands, make sure it's secure, remove the wheels and drop the brake assembly out of the way, the same as the fronts. From here, disconnect the rear shocks from the frame and then, of course, the axle, and set those aside. From here, you can reinstall the relocation brackets for the regular brakes as well as the e-brakes, and doing some drilling into those brakes will be detailed into the instruction manual. Once that's taken care of, you can uninstall the factory lift blocks and U-bolts and replace those with the new lift blocks we have here as well as the extended U-bolts for the added lift compensation. Once that's taken care of, just finish it off with the 2.2 series performance off-road shocks from Rouch Country, bolting it down into the factory locations using some new hardware provided for you in the kit. Once that's taken care of, you're pretty much good to go. Now obviously that's the install in a complete nutshell. There's obviously very detailed steps here in the instruction manual included for you in the kit. Now once everything's taken care of, you can get the wheels and brake assembly back into place, get the truck on the ground, and see your finished product. This Rouch Country 4-inch suspension lift kit is available for any 09 to 10 4-wheel drive F-150 owner, excluding the Raptor models. You can get yours right here at AmericanTrucks.com.